There's still 65,000 open interest in March, and there's still a couple of weeks to go in February before the March contract becomes deliverable. So the 65,000 open interest is 325 million ounces, and the registered supply of silver on COMEX is only 98 million. So it's going to be really interesting keeping track of this open interest and also the registered supply of silver in the vaults, because that could go down as well, because there's a lot of people taking delivery right now in February, which is not really a front month. Silver is going to take a little longer, I think, to kind of pick up. But once it does, it's we're going to blow right through that 121 level, I think. And I think the Gnome of Zurich is going to be right about the 199 level. And I think that's coming soon. Yeah, just like gold is going to 6,000, in my opinion, very soon. But I wouldn't be surprised if we are near 6,000 very soon. And what do I mean by very soon? I don't know. Maybe a month or so. But I've seen that even the bullion banks now are upping their forecast for gold for this year. Here's a chart of the Dow gold ratio. And all that is the Dow priced in real money or in troy ounces. So right now, it's below 10. Really easy to calculate. You take the level of the Dow divided by the price of gold in troy ounces, and it's below 10. It's the lowest it's been, well, since 2013. Yes, recently it went even lower, but yeah, historically, we haven't been to this level since 2013. And the chart is really keeling over. And if you look at it on the long-term basis, let's say a monthly chart, I think it's inevitable that we're going to go at least 1-to-1. So yeah, that's why the establishment, Wall Street, that's why they hate gold, and they try to keep it off the headlines, right? Gold is money. It's been a measure of wealth, a stable measure of wealth for thousands of years. In ancient Rome, a troy ounce of gold would get you a very lovely toga and sandals, pretty much like a troy ounce of gold now will get you a really nice tailored suit and brogues, right, or shoes. I took the period from January 2017 to January 2018. Why did I do that? Well, that was Trump's first year in office, Trump 45. And I had added up all the non-farm payrolls in those 13 months, and it came up to 2,252,000 jobs created. Average monthly number was 173.23 thousand. And I would add that a non-farm payroll is a survey, right? So these are not real jobs created. These are what companies that are surveyed by the BLS tell them that they think, how much they're going to be employing, in their payrolls. It's just a survey. But anyway, and then I looked more recently from January 2025 to January now, 2026, Trump 47. And I was kind of shocked because there's only 311,000 jobs created. Trump 45, 2.252 million jobs created in those 13 months. And yeah, 24,000 average a month. So not good. And I'm comparing it to Trump. I'm not comparing it to Biden, because a lot of the numbers during the Biden administration, especially in the beginning. They were kind of warped. They weren't really real because it was after the lockdowns and the furlough, right? Everyone was coming back to work and they were placed back on the payroll. So you had huge numbers. I'm comparing it to Trump himself, Trump 45. So just to give you some perspective, Trump 45 created 7.2 times more jobs than Trump 47 has in the first year. The other thing I would say, if you look at the budget deficit in the UK, it's running around 4.3%. Yeah, it's a little better than in the US. US, it's running more like at 6%. But the reason I bring that up is that the formula for GDP, you add government spending. So if the government is spending 4.3 times more than it takes in terms of GDP, it's the only reason why GDP isn't negative is because the government is spending so much. So it's a really unhealthy economy. Bank of England didn't cut rates the other day. Why didn't they cut rates? Well, because the CPI, what they call inflation, right, is running still, latest data is still running at 3.4%. And I made a video back in 2022 about how the UK Statistics Office, the ONS, actually changed the whole methodology of CPI, and how CPI is actually now 1% less than it's been historically. So that 3.4 is more like 4.5 or even 5%. So is the economy really doing that well? I don't think so. So how come GDP is so strong? Well, it's a little bit like the UK. When you calculate GDP, you add government spending. And in the US, government spending and deficit spending is even bigger. If the government was running a balanced budget, instead of 6% of GDP deficit, GDP would be a lot lower. The other thing I would add is that we know that in the last 12 months or so, AI data center expenditures has contributed to more than half of the growth in GDP. So it's all based on, I would say, a sector that is highly leveraged. Some would argue that it's a bubble. Yeah, I wouldn't argue with them about that, but be as it may, it's continuing to grow. And I'm not saying it's all Trump's fault. I think it's much bigger than Trump. This is the end of the fiat money regime, and everything is topsy-turvy. The debt is out of control, right? And the only way to keep the debt going and the system from imploding is to inflate and make sure that people don't realize it. I mean, this is not me being a conspiracy theorist. This is also what Ray Dalio, one of the most successful hedge fund managers, said the other day with Tucker Carlson in an interview. The supply of dollars and debt is growing, and it has to keep growing or else the system implodes. And what else? Well, let's quickly look at where things are this morning then. Spot gold is at $5,070. It's down $14. The high's been 5,100 and the low has been 50.44. Yeah, silver was hit hard overnight. As usual, we got down to 81.50. Right now we're at 83.80, down like 50 cents. The high's been 85. And the other thing that we need to keep an eye on, aside from price in silver, which is really more important, is the dwindling supply of silver in the major exchanges of the world like COMEX, Shanghai Gold Exchange, Shanghai Futures Exchange. And we have a post here from Dario this morning, and it says 2,500 open interest rolled forward from March 26 to May 26 silver futures contract. That's on COMEX. Well, that means that people who are long March silver, they've rolled into May. They sold the March and bought the May. So that means they're not going to stand for delivery in March. The economy, the markets, the currencies. And how do I feel about that? Well, I think it should. Just like I thought they should have let the banks collapse in 2008. Just like I thought they shouldn't have intervened in 2020 and print hundreds of billions or if not trillions of dollars. Yeah, we seem as a society to be wanting to kick the can down the road. All we think about is money, not what's right or wrong. And that's why I came out with that passage from the Bible that the root of all evil is the love of money. Some people say money is the root of all evil. No, I think money is a really good human creation. It facilitates specialization. It facilitates trade. It facilitates economic growth. But the problem is when money is corrupted, like it's been since 1971, when there's nothing really behind it, and central banks and governments can create it out of thin air and bill it to you in terms of in terms of taxation and inflation. Sound money, honest money is not the root of all evil. It's the love of money, and I think not just the U.S. but the West. We've gone so far down into this philosophy that we don't even care anymore about what's right and wrong. And so that's what it's about in terms of, so they want to deflect the attention, but I would say that the Dow 50,000 is also like a distraction against the real health of the stock market and the economy. And why do I say that? Well, because as most of you know on the channel, and if you followed me, that foreign investors are going to flee the country, and gilt yields are going to rise even more. Yes, gilt yields have been, and gilts are the UK government bonds. They've been under control for the last few years after the 2022 crisis, Liz Truss and Kwarteng crisis, but the levels of yields are still higher than they were at the heights of the crisis. So we've also got some industrial production, manufacturing production. They were all horrible numbers, a lot lower than expected. We also got trade balance. That was bigger than expected. The deficit. Construction output was worse than expected. So all in all, not good shape, the economy. And I suspect the Bank of England might have to start cutting and say to hell with inflation, really. They're going to opt for inflation, and that's why it's still really important to keep hold of your gold and silver, not just here in the UK, though, everywhere, because they're going to have to keep inflating. What else is going on? Well, I'm going to talk about the gold chart and the silver. We'll come to that at the end. Now let's switch over to the main topic. And I usually don't follow these things too much, but it was popping up everywhere on X. And it was like I don't know, it was melodramatic what happened in U.S. Congress yesterday. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, she lost it. I would say she completely lost it. And at one point, instead of sticking to the subject of the files, right, and all that, she switched over to saying, oh, well, look at the Dow, it's at 50,000. Look at the S&P, it's almost at 7,000. And the NASDAQ is going crazy, is going massively higher. You know, this is what we need to talk about. And yeah, trying to deflect attention from, from a topic that not only affects the Trump administration and the Republicans, but it affects the other side of the aisle. This is like an establishment problem, and it's not just in the U.S. as well. It's everywhere in the West. Our governments are really corrupt, and that's not surprising. There's an old saying about politics that, the scum, I guess, rise to the top, something like that. Politicians are all compromised, and the powers that be behind the scenes, they use that to their advantage. And I think this Epstein files is all to do with this mechanism, and that's why they're trying to keep it really hushed up, because if the real truth, if it's all divulged, the whole system could implode.